Trigger is pretty impressive on that one.
Wow.
I started mapping out my weaponry purchases when I was 10 years old. I'm not even joking with you guys, dead serious. Age 10, got out a piece of paper. These are the guns I want to buy sometime during my life, sooner rather than later. If I can find it, I'll roll in that picture taken by my dad in my room, 1970s. My room bulletin board showing cutouts of pictures that I was totally digging back then. Several revolvers were on my list, ones that I just loved. I think back then I wanted, what was it, Ruger Service 6? And also, one you're looking at right now, Smith & Wesson Airweight 38 Special. Preferably the Bodyguard model. 2010, same one you're looking at right here. Smith & Wesson Model 638 Airweight. This is a Nutnfancy review. Thanks, dudes, for joining me. We're going to talk about 38 specials, namely Smith & Wesson variety. A lot of what I say on this gun will apply to the entire Smith & Wesson lineup. I have reviewed several 38 special, not several, a couple. Model 360 PD, Smith & Wesson. Talked about the Ruger SP101, 357 Magnum, and then the Smith & Wesson 686P. I know, not too many out there. I hope to do more in the future. And I dig revolvers. I mean, seriously, and that's always stuck with me all the way back then. As the years went by and I was a poor college student, I'd go into a gun shop and handle a snub-nosed Smith & Wesson 638 like this, its predecessors, the other Bodyguards, and I'd just go, man, I love that gun. I just want one. Second type of cool, seriously, and I've always had that with me. So yeah, I usually will prefer the auto in the role of concealed carry weapon because it's slimmer, has more firepower, stuff we'll talk about in the talking points. I've talked about it before. Still like them though, love them. Let's jump right in. POU, this probably is going to be another long review. I'll try to keep it as short as I can. We take side trips though, it adds length, just like that one. I would say first and foremost, this is a contact weapon, meaning that it's for close firing distances. I would say 7 feet or less is where it's really going to excel in philosophy of use. Size and weight, you can see how small it is. I'll compare it against some other options here in a little bit. It's definitely light enough at 14.4 ounces empty to carry on your person every day. That's a lightweight gun. If you start going around 25 ounces or heavier and you add more bulk, generally speaking, I find that most folks, guys and gals, will leave their guns at home. They don't bring them. Civilians. Now, if you're a LEO, law enforcement official, and you have to have a gun on your person, you know, they will. They have to. It's their job. It's in their, you know, their regulations. Contact weapon. Why do I say that? Because this gun is hard to shoot. When we talk about accuracy, I'll discuss maybe a little bit more on that. But you extend the distance past 7 feet, you add stress, loss of, you know, fine motor skills, especially if you think you're going to reload this. Good luck. Mostly a contact weapon. But the thing is, in jumping down to durability, reliability, always do that jumping around. It excels in being reliable. As long as you keep a few things in mind with a shrouded, you know, airweight Smith & Wesson, It's going to be there when you need it. It's not going to jam. It's going to take care of you. So it's a high reliability, close quarter gun. Second POU, maybe a backup gun with a New York reload. The New York reload, of course, being, a fully loaded pistol ready to rock and roll. Instead of fooling around with a reload, you just grab your other gun. A lot of officers carry this on the ankle and have for decades because it's light enough, generally compact enough. I will say a lot of 380s blow this gun away for compactness and carryability. Second philosophy of use, collection. Actually, I'm in third, I guess. Being a collectible, just like me. I mean, if you always wanted one, you've seen them in movies. There's something about it that you just love. You love the superior quality that Smith & Wesson integrates into their product. Dude, you just might want to get it as a collector piece. Maybe you just want it as a recreational piece to go out and have fun shooting. That is definitely a good philosophy of use. I'm all for that. I do think there's a lot better options. Maybe a Model 60, for instance, one of my other favorite Smith & Wesson revolver offerings. Longer radius, better sights, more comfortable to shoot, especially if you go to higher power loads, plus P, etc. You'll enjoy that. I think one thing I want to discuss here, philosophy of use. What's my pointer today? How about a Kershaw OD2? I will say, be careful if you think this is a ladies' gun right off the gate. I've seen a lot of guys and gals make that decision, say, you know what, I think I'm just going to get a snub. I've mentioned this in my other revolver reviews. Let me just briefly cover it here. I like each video to be self-contained. It takes a certain expertise level to shoot these guns accurately at any further distance. Again, within 7 feet, maybe even closer, 3 feet. I think most people can do well. Reloading them is a challenge, but due to the sights, the ergonomics inherent in a snub-nose 38, a little bit tougher to shoot. On the upside, like I've mentioned before, they are very simple. No magazines to deal with. You just have a cylinder. You can see the rounds both when they're when the cylinder is open, when the cylinder is closed. All that's good. If your lady is going to choose a 38 Special, whether it's a Smith & Wesson 638, a Taurus, make sure she knows how to shoot it, that she practices. Also, I believe in dry fire practice. And with these, like snap caps, not that you need them, but they're good. And you can practice your reloads with them too, which we'll talk about. All right, so that's a couple POUs for you. Size and weight. It's compact. How compact? Well, let's throw some quintessential guns that I've talked about, shown in the Nutnfancy project. Some reviewed, some not. The Walther PPK. For the longest time, the Smith & Wesson 38 Special, whichever model you're talking about, the reason it was so popular, here I am zoomed in, didn't even know it, is because it was reliable. There were a lot of auto pistols back in the 1970s. Not so reliable. You just had a couple choices. The Colt Mustang, for instance, I didn't think was a reliable gun. I didn't like it. Everyone I ever shot jammed all the time, unless it got gunsmithed and, fixed. What were some other ones? The Llama 380s, the Baby Brownings. You have the Daytonix 45. That was actually pretty reliable, very expensive. But in terms of this weight, around 15 or so ounces, what other gun in the 70s can compete with it? Enter the Walther PPK. This one is made in the USA prior to Smith & Wesson taking over the operation. Great gun. Love the PPK reference. But it's 23 ounces or so? It's a lot heavier than this. It's flatter in dimension for sure, heavier though, and that is an important consideration. Glock 26, I didn't come on scene until, I don't know, the 90s. A little bit thinner than the cylinder. More firepower, definitely. A little bit heavier, 21 ounces or so for a Glock 26, Glock 27. This is still lighter. Car PM9, one of my first reviewed handguns here in the Nutnfancy project, still highly recommended, although the price increases on Car has kind of disenfranchised me with the brand a little bit. They just continually get more expensive. I digress. Thinner though, few more rounds, actually 2 to be specific, in the 9mm chambering. Easier to reload. I think most autos are, but in terms of size and weight, even in 2010, against some other offerings like the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard revolver, that weighs 13 and a half. Their specs are right here. 14 ounces, 14.4. That has an integrated laser. That's exactly the same weight as this one with the Crimson Trace grip, still holding its own in terms of size and weight. Again, keep in mind you do have a wide cylinder when you opt for a revolver. That's an important dimension. Actually, your most important dimension is width in comfort and carry, and if determining what most folks will carry. It's compact too. The compactness is good for carry, not so good for firepower. You're only going to have 5 rounds, okay? And like I've said before, if you think you're going to reload under stress, you might be surprised to learn that it's going to be very difficult, as again, those fine motor skills go bye-bye. You know, and there's a, you know, kind of jumping down to accessories. How do you reload your Bodyguard? Lots of techniques, a lot of different ways to do it. Guys who practice with it a lot get very good at it. I kind of go off and on my revolver practice. I'll like be really into it for a few months, shoot, and then I'll go 6 months, a year without shooting a revolver. And then when I get back on the revolver, especially a snubby like the 638, my proficiency suffers a little bit, especially in the reload. You know, out in the desert when I was shooting this, the way I'd reload it is I was saving my brass, so I would kind of do a horizontal ejection, you know, like this. But ideally, you turn it up. There's, again, lots of techniques, but come here, you know, briskly snap that ejector rod out and see if you can get those cases out. You need pretty much that whole length, because since getting back to size and weight, the revolver is so compact, this doesn't give you a lot of ejection capability like you would have on a larger frame Smith & Wesson or other revolver for that matter. So you need to snap those suckers out there. Get your HKS 36 Alpha speed loader in there. Affect the reload if you want. Those are snap caps, by the way, obviously. Firepower, 5 rounds. Make your rounds count. Is it enough? Me keeping it real, I will say no, it's not. Not generally speaking. Not when I have, and this gets why I carry an auto day by day. kel-tec PF9, in this case Car PM9. Easier to reload, easier to recharge it, get it back in the fight. And with this one I have +2 rounds. With the kel-tec PF9, it has a 3-round advantage over that. Okay, so we're talking first type of cool there. If you have 5 rounds, you better connect with them. And I probably would not plan on a reload. I think I've said that like 3 different ways in this review. And I agree with that. And I'm not the only one saying that. There's a lot of guys that say that from experience. A lot of officers and combat tacticians, whatever. Accuracy. Lots of shooting done here in the Nutnfancy project with the Model 638. 2 phases really. I'm going to say the first phase, and let me jump down to ergonomics, controls, trigger, sights, and feel, because this ties into accuracy and what the gun is capable of doing. Not just this Smith & Wesson airweight, i.e. aluminum frame. And if you guys don't know that, by the way, when you see a Smith & Wesson airweight designation, let me turn this gun over, that's an aluminum framed Smith. The Airlight, if my terminology is correct, is a titanium or scandium framed revolvers. Okay, they're a little bit lighter, in some cases 4 ounces lighter, but they're a lot more expensive. For value, the airweights are probably my favorite Smith & Wesson snubbies. Okay, and then you have some steel versions of the 38s too. Okay, getting back to ergonomics. First off, to shoot this gun correctly, it takes practice, and you're going to have to overcome a few things. Sorry if I'm repeating myself from other reviews. Again, self-contained. First off, that small grip. This is not the stock grip that came with it. Where'd it go? This is the rubber grip. By the way, I don't prefer rubber grips on my guns. They catch clothing and grab. Just like I've said in lots of my reviews. You can, you know, lean forward if you're carrying this in, I don't know, inside the waistband holster. Your shirt rides up, it grabs, the gun's visible, printing, I don't know, whatever. Guys can see it. Back to the small circumference of the grip. You could easily fit this with bigger grips, but now you're defeating your POU, and that is a concealed carry gun, right? Or maybe a backup ankle gun, however you're carrying it. You know, I like horizontal shoulder holster, Galco Classic Light variety, in suede, very thin. That is a tiny grip. You're going to have to overcome it. You don't have a squared off trigger guard, which for me, I like. I shoot guns better that way. That's my technique, my mileage. Yours may vary. Once you overcome that, and if your hands are larger, now you have to contend with the fact, generally speaking, you're going to be firing this gun in double action mode. Remember, we got snap caps in there. Safe direction. So that double action trigger, long and heavy, again, this was the first part of the review. I'll tell you what I'm talking about here in a second. And that will throw you off target. Super lightweight gun, 14.5 ounces empty. There's a lot of waver. You can get the sights off target. Okay, you have to master that. Single action is more of a hair trigger. That takes its own set of mastery too. And again, I forget about it. When I was shooting with Sterling over at Impact Guns this gun. I was surprised at how light it was. The trigger, that is. In single action mode. The sights. You can see this one is not a stock front blade. I filled it with paint. White to begin with, to put a background on. I need to go another coat of fluorescent paint, and it makes a high contrast front blade. Normally it's silver, the same color as the frame, not a lot of contrast, and they're not adjustable. They are low profile. They take some getting used to. The sights are not great, and you have a very short sighting radius. Another disadvantage. Okay, the way you hold a revolver, we could go on and on. There's tons of techniques, and you'll have to come up with something consistent where you achieve good accuracy. Okay, and that gets what I was talking about. Stage 1 of the testing here in the Nutnfancy project, model 638. First stage was with a stock trigger. As it came out of the box, I didn't do anything to it. And I will have to say, in shooting it out in the desert at least, excuse me, I wasn't that great. I just wasn't. Probably a couple factors. One, I'm getting used to the trigger. I hadn't shot revolvers for a while. But, you know, it wasn't going away going, wow, that's really good shooting I did with that 638. Not so much. As more rounds went down the pipe, I got better, but I still had to adjust myself to that trigger. I had two little helpers with me, Tactical Doodle, Vociferous Wad. They did some shooting with a 638 last year with me. They did pretty darn good. I thought they did better than I did, and that was pretty cool. I shot the gun on some steel plates out in the desert. Tough to hit with. I mean, I'm not kidding. This is not under stress. This is not a running gun either. It's just out there shooting plates. I connected a few times, but not a lot. It is definitely not like shooting a full-size service pistol, or for that matter, a Glock 26, which I think is a world easier to shoot for me than the little airweight. Okay, so fast forward a couple months, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going to take this gun to Mr. Terry G. I call him Yoda G. Impact Guns, Ogden. Have him do a trigger job on it. He's done lots of Smith & Wesson trigger jobs, and I want to see what he can do. My primary interest was that double action trigger pull. Again, snap cap, safe direction. I wanted to smooth that double action trigger pull out. And guess what? After the job he did on that, oh man, it is a world of difference on this 638. Amazing. So I had to confirm it though. I mean, it's one thing dry fire, and then you're like, well, let me go see if it's, you know, really more accurate. Went to Impact Guns again, not to the other store. When Sterling, my friend, was running that, took Sterling out, and here's the targets. Let's see, no particular order. I may have shown you these in the introduction. Here's Sterling, 8 yards with the gun. By the way, Sterling's a good shot, dudes. That's a 638 snub, and we alternated between plus P and I think it's plus P Starfire loads or something like that. I forget. And then we had PMC full metal jacket loads. Pretty good. Worked some 8-yard headshots. Look at this group, dudes. Amazing. Great job, Sterling. Here's another one. This is, let me see, who's the shooter? It's me, shooting plus P. Getting used to it. I think I have some video of that, of when I'm shooting it. I was like surprised, you know. The recoil of plus P, by the way, very similar to the 357 when you're shooting a 14.5 ounce gun, dudes. Very similar. That day too, we're alternating between shooting 357s and 38s, so we had a lot of comparison going on. Very similar. A lot of blast and recoil. I said, okay, that's not that bad of a group, but I can definitely do better. And I did. There's a body group. I think the distance on that was again 8 yards. This was last year, 638. Very pleased with that. I mean, geez, if you could do that under stress, heck, if you could go in the 9 ring under stress, amazing. It takes training though, and that's the main point I want to get across when you're talking about the 638, heck, the 640 Centennial for that matter, any of the airweight 38 specials. Train, shoot. Dry fire helps a lot. It gets you used to the trigger, but there is really no substitute with these guns except getting out and putting some lead down range. Headshots. This is me, 8 yards, 125 grain, Starfire hollow points with SFHP. Shooting left for some reason. Nice group though, I'm pretty happy with that. Really nice group in the chest, dig that. This is what the gun's capable of, and I think that is a realistic distance. Out in the desert in 29, we did shoot 10 to 15 yards with this gun. And we achieved some actually pretty good groups. That's again in stage 1 with a stock trigger, going back with my son and did pretty good. But I'll tell you, you got to take your time, and the sights really aren't that amenable to target shooting, especially against the small circles of a scoped rifle target. I mean, they're meant for scopes and stuff. So I kind of learned that too, and that's another reason why you saw the silhouettes just now. They're a much better target, especially with those sights, because you can get more precision, believe it or not, with a larger silhouette. 38 Special PMC, this is back in October 2009. That's me in the head. I like that. Yeah, own that guy. Look at that, in the body, nice. What you're seeing here is a representation of practice, and also the result of the Terry G trigger job, to be honest with you. It's a superior trigger job, and it allowed double action firing like that. Its stock trigger, not so great. The Performance Center at Smith & Wesson does trigger jobs just like that, so they're also excellent, as proven in my 686 shooting. All right, here we go again. A couple more. This is a 638 PMC 132 grain full metal jacket. That's my group. It's okay, nothing great. There's another group from me. You saw this on camera. If not, you will sometime during this video. And then that's mine. I was very happy with that group right there. I think it's very representative of what the gun's capable of doing. There's Sterling. One flyer coming out there. Other than that, pretty decent group. Real nice group there. And I told him that. I was like, dude, nicely done. There you have it. So I didn't really bench rest this gun. Definitely not going to fire it at 25 yards. I'm not good enough to do that anyhow. My groups would widen up like a lot with these sights. You kidding me? But 8 yards, 10 yards representations here in this video. This gun, for what it is, and that is a subcompact 38 Special, very accurate. What? It's very accurate. Snubbies aren't accurate. I beg to differ. This one's accurate. What it boils down to is shooter capability. The gun itself is mechanically sound. It uses the best materials. The lockup on the cylinders is tight, and it can produce this. If you do your part, it will do its part too. And if in the hands of a right shooter, you could probably get a group like that out to 15 yards, depending on his or her eyes. But the gun is tight, man. Tolerances, there's no wiggle in the cylinder, fore, aft. I mean, a little bit, which is normal. Let's break out the Streamlight Stylish Pro. Look at the distance off the forcing cone. What? You still like the Stylish Pro, Nutnfancy? Yeah, love that light. High value, baby. You can see there's really, I'm trying to get it so you can see in the viewfinder. Where's it? Little bit of distance, not much. Good news is that's precision. Bullet doesn't have to travel a long ways to engage rifling. Better accuracy. Downside is keep that forcing cone clean. If you don't, you can lock your cylinder up, and it has happened to J-frames before. Accuracy is excellent. Ergonomics are what they are for a J-frame. I can learn to deal with them. I do prefer, by the way, jumping ahead to accessories, the Crimson Trace grips over the stock. One reason, talking about ergonomics, is it's that hard plastic finish, which will not grab clothing, and yet still very comfortable. I didn't complain or find that it had any problems when shooting plus P loads. Do you need the laser capability in a snub? The reason I like a laser is intimidation. That's right. That's the main reason I like a laser in a handgun. Not for aiming purposes. I will tell you now, I will probably not, I won't even say probably, I will not use it for aiming. That's not my habit pattern. I will always revert to my training, and my training is either point shooting or using the sights. Your mileage may vary, but I also want to test it too. And I love the Crimson Trace. I may do a separate tabletop. I think for what it is, it's excellent. Super lightweight. 14.4 ounces with a Crimson Trace on it. And I will say it gives you an added advantage of low light shooting capability. Whereas your sights may disappear at night. You don't have an integrated weapon light, of course, on this little gun. You might have a flashlight with you, don't know. But you can have an illuminated aiming dot. Incidentally, it wasn't like totally co-witness with the sights when I was shooting with Sterling. We kind of noticed that. Probably some other stuff I forgot about ergonomics. I'm just going to go on to field strip and maintenance. Really, field stripping shouldn't be necessary. Maintenance is always a pain in the butt for me, Nutnfancy, because you basically have 5 additional barrels right here. Okay, so you're going to have to keep all of those clean. Your charging holes, you got to get under your star extractor. I haven't cleaned this since the last shoot, as you can see, almost purposely so you can see what happens. Get carbon buildup under here. You want that star extractor to go flush. Clean your forcing cone. Keep this area clean. Your recoil plate in the back here, lubricate it. By the way, you want lubrication here a little bit here, a little bit here. You know, any type of CLP will work. Shooter's choice, you know, break free works fine. And that's about it. As long as you don't abuse your 638, I think it's going to be, getting down to durability and reliability, a pretty awesome gun with an asterisk next to that. Reference my Ruger SP101 review, where that is a steel, stainless steel to be exact, revolver, extremely durable, overbuilt, meant to take 357 lows day in, day out. If you were to ask me, I said as much in my review. I've never found anything since then or before that's disproved that. You have an aluminum framed, although plus P rated, you know, pistol. I don't really think they're designed to go out and shoot high volume. In other words, this would not be a good gun to rent out at the range. One reason is because it's aluminum frame, you know, and here we have a steel piece, you know, the catch right here, riding against the aluminum frame here. Over time, it's going to, I don't know, groove, cause problems. With a steady diet of plus P loads, what will happen with the frame? Will it stretch? I've heard issues of this before. Not on the third generation of 638s, and this is the third generation. Look there, right there on the yoke. 638-3, you have the second generation. This one I think came out in 1996, and it is indeed plus P rated. But I will say, again, it just gets the firepower versus mobility. If you want an ultra rugged 38 or 357, you probably need to go to a steel frame. This is pretty much designed in the POU that I've designated. You know, occasional practice, occasional use, but a steady diet, constant shooting. I think you're going to probably experience some issues over time. Maybe they're timing issues, you know, where the cylinder bore alignment kind of goes out of whack and you got to take it to a gunsmith. I don't know. I'm not Joe Revolver expert, but that's just my point of view right there. Some guys will say, Nutnfancy, why do you prefer the shrouded external hammer on the Smiths? Wouldn't you like a 640, 642 Centennial internal hammer, no shroud, you know, easier in the pocket to fire? No, not really. I like the Bodyguards. I've always liked the shroud. I like the capability to go single action. Perhaps driving back to the accuracy talking point. I mean, yeah, they're ideally suited to 10 yards inside. We talked about the sights, their limitations, sight radius, grip, all that. What if you have to make a long shot, though? What if someone's life depends on it? Don't laugh. It's happened before, and you need to make it the shot. Do you want to do that shot double action? Again, the snap caps are back in, you know, like so. Or would you prefer to have a single action capability? Much more accurate. Again, with the Terry G Yoda trigger job, not much of a factor. That's double action is so smooth, really not disadvantageous at all. With a factory trigger in the Smith & Wesson 638, it's an issue. That double action will throw you off, and I'd much prefer go single. Getting back to the maintenance side of it, field strip and maintenance, guys will say, and rightly so, be careful you don't jam crap in that channel like lint, I don't know, whatever, that could actually prevent that hammer coming back and cocking. True statement. My understanding is it has happened to other people before. Not good. How about this? Take care of your gun. Service it like you should be doing anyhow. I've carried this one before, and I actually didn't find it to be an issue at all. Blow some compressed out air in there once in a while. Keep that channel clean. Yeah, it's just a consideration. So overall, maintenance, if you can deal with the extra barrels, which are the charge holes, doable. Accessories and versatility. This is where it gets good when you opt for a 638. Maybe perhaps some of those other Smith & Wesson versions as well. The J-frame revolvers have been around so long, they're so beloved by hundreds of thousands of people around the world, they sell well. In a lot of ways, the J-frame is a complete anomaly, even in 2010. It's still selling well. You know, lots of versions. I'm not just talking the 638 here. There's a reason for this, and that is because they're so well proven, track record. You know, they've been around so long, they're so ingrained in the American mindset and heck, mindset around the world of having just absolute reliability, quality, durability, all the things which I think are warranted. They sell well. Because they sell well, there's lots of accessories. Different holster options, different grip options. I wouldn't go crazy on those grips, though. Once again, you want to maintain that slim, compact form factor that allows it to fulfill a CCW POW. POW. POU is what I meant to say. That is too funny. Don't go with some big goofy grips on your J-frame. If you want a bigger revolver, get a full size, and to me that's a completely different POU. Sights you're kind of stuck with, dudes. You can see what I did on that. Fill it with white paint, then fluorescent testers paint, multiple coats. It wears good enough. Guys say, was that good enough? Yeah, I've done it to several guns. I did it to a Smith & Wesson 422, and it's still lasting great. So you're kind of stuck with that. Reloaders. My favorite is HKS. Again, this is size 36, fitted for this gun. Other versions out there, and there's lots of them. Tough quick strips, Safariland Comp 1, Bianchi, speed strips, and some guys will like it. Like my friend TMP Research makes a good point. He goes, sometimes these guns are so hard to load with the speed loader, with the revolver cut out. And you see, the grip cut out. And you see that's deeply scalloped for the insertion of the HKS speed loader. Some grips are not, and I thought these were a little bit problematic, the stock ones, to use HKS speed loader with while we're at it. But still, it's tough. It's tough to get that in there, charging, spinning around. Does it beat loading them in singly? Absolutely, for me. Some guys prefer speed strips, and they'll just. And if you don't know what that is, it's a flexible strip, polymer or rubber strip that just holds around, and you can put them in. They're slower, but at least it beats loose rounds jangling around in your pocket. That's about all you'll ever need. And in the accessories department, maybe a trigger job, just like I talked about the Yoda G mod. Would I recommend that? 638. Not all the time. It just depends on what you want out of your gun. If you are, picky about your triggers like I am, and I am very discriminating on my triggers. By the way, this Walther PPK has a trigger job as well. I think for me, an experienced pistol dude, it makes a difference. I can shoot it more accurate, as proven by the targets I showed you from the 638. I would say for a guy that's experienced or gal, then it's worth the money. If you are not planning to shoot it a lot and just going to use it as a contact distance weapon, I wouldn't waste my money. Okay, so let's talk about value. Smiths are freaking expensive, dudes. What can I tell you? They just are. The reason is the fit and finish is just superb. It doesn't matter what part of the gun you're looking at. The lines here on the side plate, you can see how tight they are. The frame, the stainless steel barrel, everything is excellent. It's a durable gun for what it is, again, with the limitations I talked about previously. It don't come cheap, though. What's this going to ballpark at? 638. I did a gallery of gun search in my zip code currently, about 520. You could best that somewhere else, maybe get it in the high fours, maybe even lower. And that's in the same ballpark as, I hate to say, I didn't really get a price check on this Bodyguard. I'm going to say around 500. Again, that's with included Crimson Trace. The price I'm giving you is without the Crimson Trace. Understand? These were added aftermarket style. Other varieties or other options you could get. If you're committed to a 38 Special, you're cool with the 5-shot capabilities, the reload, the ergonomics, all the stuff we talked about. Maybe the Taurus 851 SS2 UL with a retail about 500, street price, I don't know, low 4s, maybe high 3s. I don't know, I haven't looked. It's 1.8 ounces more than this, and I think weight is pretty much everything. By the way, that's the Protector model. And then they have that Taurus ultralight titanium at 15.5 ounces with I think a retail of $615, which will put it street price in about the same price as this. Dude, I got to be honest, if it's between a Taurus and a Smith & Wesson and the price is even close, Smith & Wesson all the way, baby. It's not even an option for me. I mean, I'd pay $100 more to get a Smith. Why? Well, first, maybe it goes back to 1975, what I'm talking about, when I wanted to have my own. I just love them. They were on my list then. They've never gotten off the list. Second type of cool, I admit it. I just love them. I like the history, their capabilities. To me, it's worth a little extra money. How about the Smith & Wesson 340 PD, 12 ounces? It's even lighter than this by, I don't know, a couple ounces. Great gun. Great gun. Better sights, if you're asking me. They have that, fiber optic sight. You have a tritium big dot sight option in the PD and the M&P series. Hope I'm not confusing those. $925 though. Maybe high 8s, mid 8s if you're lucky. That's expensive. Scandium frame. You pay for that scandium. Ouch. Centennials. I don't know, 642, 15 ounces, internal hammer, no shroud, double action only. Is that what you want? I love the Centennial. I think it's a great gun in a lot of ways. This review is the same as a Centennial. It's just little minor differences, shrouded external hammer. Other than that, they're the same guns. Some guys like this Centennial though, because since you don't have the shroud here, they can achieve, like TMP research says, they can achieve a higher grip, a higher consistent grip, which will manage recoil better. Great point. After firing the 638, I don't find it to be an issue at all. I don't find that, oh man, my grip's so low, I'm getting too much recoil. That's just my mileage. I don't see it. Value, when you take into consideration the quality levels, durability levels, the coolness levels that you achieve with a 638, worth it if you plan on keeping the gun in your family pretty much forever. Okay, value is a lot more than price. It's quality, it's lightweight, it's durability, it's ergonomics. Remember, this is a subcompact J-frame, super light, 38 special. Durability and reliability. We kind of talked about that already, didn't we? It is a reliable 5 gun. I was going to say a 6 gun. And for many years, in a lot of people's minds, it still is more reliable than the auto options. I don't think that's an accurate point of view. I don't. It's changed in the last, I don't know, decade or so. These autos are so reliable, even the mini ones. I mean, I've shot my kel-tec PF9, reference a review. This is the the car PM9, not the kel-tec, but they're pretty good. But in a lot of people's minds, J-frame is something that they are going to bet their life on. 638 would be a great example of it. It's more reliable. I mean, as long as you keep, again, that forcing cone clean, you keep it oiled up, and you don't abuse it, the gun's going to go off when you pull the trigger. Won't jam on you. I mean, there's some weird things you need to be aware of. Like occasionally, and even in my firing, once in a while, you'll try to extract the cases when the charge holes have a bunch of carbon built up on them, and one of the cases does not extract, and it gets under that star extractor that you see here. That's working fine now, right? See how it lifts all those cartridges out? Well, once in a while, these will go under the star extractor, and that is a problem. Kind of a downside. Then you got to get your fingernail out, maybe get your Swiss Army knife out, and fix it. Didn't know that happened, did you, with a revolver? It does. The 1996 Newers, again, are plus P rated. This is a 3rd generation. Older versions, be careful with if you're thinking about throwing some. If you go get a used 638, look on the crane, not the crane, but the yoke here, see what version it is. 638 plain will just be the first one, and the second one will be -2, and this is the 3rd gen. And I think the 3rd gen on were plus P rated. Track record is excellent. In service with police departments all over the country, probably all over the world. And it just keeps on trucking. Remember I told you guys that story about the female police officer off duty in a hair salon in New York City, and some bad guys came in. This is the only gun she had. And guess what? She didn't even have a speed loader with her. She just had 5 rounds. She took out, I forget exactly, it's been so long, but what, 2 or 3 of the 4 bad guys, killed them dead. Yep, can happen. Be good with your J-frame, and it will be good to you. They do take practice, though. It's its own set of skills that you'll need to fire this well. They're fun to fire, too. Plus P's maybe not so fun because they snap a little bit more recoil. 5 rounds of 38 special. Can it do the job? Absolutely. If you can do your job. Ergonomic issues I can live with. But, man, this is a cool gun. Super lightweight. It is a revolver, wider, I don't know, width than a lot of auto offerings. I still love it, though. Absolutely love it. It's one of my all-time favorite 38 special revolvers, hands down. That's the Nutnfancy review. Hope you dug it. See ya. Outfitted with a Crimson Trace. Those are good. Like you say, that's in there. Great little gun that is. As long as you train with it.